Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. Public urged to tone down Lunar New Year gatherings as daily infections drop below 3 digits for the first time in 1 week. Government dismisses lawmaker Junius Ho's claim that those advocating living with COVID may breach the national security law. And large parts of northeastern United States shiver through a fierce winter storm. There is finally relief for Kaichung Estate residents after authorities believe all transmission chains there have been cut off. But around 30 households were evacuated in various districts over fears of vertical transmission in their buildings. Isaac Lee reports.
For the first time in a week, Hong Kong's daily infections fell below 3 digits. There were 81 cases today, 77 of which local. In a positive sign, all new patients from the Kaichung Estate cluster were linked to previous infections. The Center for Health Protection believes all transmission chains there have been broken up. But silent transmission chains may have formed elsewhere, with 15 untraceable cases logged today. They include residents of Choi Wan Estate and Lower Wong Tai Sin Estates. Vertical transmission was suspected at more residential towers, including Block 2 of Tivoli Garden in Tsingyi, Yam Yu House of Shek Yam East Estate in Kaichung, and Yong Lai House of Yao Tong's Yao Lai Estates. Around 30 households had to be evacuated. Meanwhile, another outbreak could be forming at Sha Tin Methodist College. 2 janitors have come down with the virus, and some others have tested preliminary positive. All 12 of their colleagues have to be quarantined. Among the 9 suspected Delta cases today, 1 had visited Cape Collinson Crematorium last week. A cleaner who works there had earlier tested positive. Authorities noted that around 20 cases today were related to cross-family gatherings. With Lunar New Year holidays approaching, they reminded citizens to stay alert.
I understand many families would like to gather together and sharing some meals or eating some, enjoy the festival. Be careful, especially if there are elderlies involved or who has not yet get vaccinated. If they get infected, there may be some complications.
The center also reported around 70 preliminary infections, which will be confirmed tomorrow. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
As debate intensifies on whether Hong Kong should stick to its zero COVID strategy, a lawmaker said anyone advocating living with COVID may breach the national security law. The government quickly dismissed the claim, but insisted the policy is here to stay. Chloe Feng reports.
與病毒共存，呢個違背咗國家嘅政策嘅。
In a Facebook video last night, outspoken lawmaker Junius Ho suggested people who advocate that Hong Kong live with COVID may fall foul of the national security law. Ho warned that the strategy may disrupt social order and jeopardize national defense, leading to diplomatic conflicts and even war in the worst case. He slammed Western countries which adopt the tactic as irresponsible, linking it to starting a biological war where the virus proliferates. His controversial remark further fueled debate on whether Hong Kong's zero COVID strategy is sustainable amid an Omicron outbreak. The government cleared the air this afternoon, saying it is not illegal to make general remarks and discuss the effectiveness of COVID policies. A spokesman once again stood behind a dynamic zero infection target, but the term has caused confusion after Chief Executive Carrie Lam said on Thursday that she too didn't know its true definition. A mainland health official earlier clarified that while the policy cannot guarantee zero infections, it will aim to cut off transmission chains with an approach of early detection, quarantine, and treatment. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
A high vaccination rate will be imperative for Hong Kong to relax its social distancing measures, according to Health Chief Sophia Chen. She added that the authorities will focus on getting more elderly citizens on board by expanding an outreach vaccination program. More from Isaac Lee.
While Lunar New Year is just around the corner, the festive atmosphere is missing in Hong Kong. With strict social distancing measures in force and the local Omicron outbreak still raging, many wondered when they can gather with their family and friends again. Health Chief Sophia Chen gave an answer that many want to hear. Writing on her blog, she said authorities may consider adjusting social distancing rules for vaccinated persons when the first dose inoculation rate reaches 90%. The city is 11% away from that target, meaning an extra 730,000 people aged 12 or above must sign up for a shot. Chen was particularly concerned about the elderly take-up rates, with less than half of those aged 70 or above jabbed. To encourage more senior citizens to be vaccinated, the authorities will expand an outreach vaccination drive program to over 1,000 elderly and disabled homes across the city. Doctors will also perform body checks on site to make sure recipients are fit for a jab. Chen also reminded citizens to stay alert, as a number of sewage samples across different districts tested positive for coronavirus over the past week, and that suggested silent transmission chains were still alive within the community. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Thousands of athletes and Olympic officials are touching down in Beijing just days before the Winter Games open. But growing infections among support staff are adding pressure to China's zero-COVID goal. Beijing cautiously opened its border for representatives around the world as the countdown to the Winter Olympics reaches its final stage. From Friday, more than 2,800 athletes will compete in 15 disciplines for 2 weeks, followed by the Paralympics. The United States dispatched its second largest contingent of 223 athletes to the Beijing Games, which their government officials boycotted. Teams USA and Canada were quickly cleared for entry and escorted into a closed-loop system, monitored by thousands of workers. The arrangement separates foreign personnel from local residents to minimize the risks of importing the virus. At least 29 people have tested positive upon arrival, with 7 more found to be infected within the bubble.
Everything's harder with Omicron, but the system is very robust, the system is very effective, and we would expect it to make sure that infection does not spread. The public health measures we're using, the physical distancing, the hand washing, the respiratory hygiene, all those things work against Omicron.
But a relentless outbreak in the capital still demands extra vigilance. Beijing added 20 local cases yesterday, 13 of which stemmed from cold chain storage facilities in Fengtai district. Overall, the mainland logged 54 domestic transmissions compared to 37 on Friday. Hangzhou City in Zhejiang province registered 19 infections, while 8 were in Mudanjiang City, bordering Russia. In other news, the Hong Kong garrison of the People's Liberation Army has held a flag-raising ceremony at the Central Military Dock for the first time. About 300 troops attended the ceremony early this morning. Emerging from the barracks, they marched through Tema Park before arriving at the dock to play the national anthem and raise the flag. The dock was officially handed over to the PLA in 2020, following years of opposition and debate. Critics argued the 150-meter facility, which sits on a prime waterfront site, should be open to the public when it is not in use. Factory activity on the mainland slowed down slightly compared to last month, although it barely remained in expansion territory. As COVID continues to pop up in different cities, the official benchmark may shrink further in the coming months. Chloe Feng has more.
Seen as a report card on the economy, China's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index hovered just above positive territory for the first months of the year. The PMI for January stood at 50.1, down from 50.3 the previous month. A reading above 50 signals an expansion, while anything below indicates a contraction. While the world's second-largest economy has largely bounced back from the slump in 2020, there are signs the growth engine is running out of steam as sporadic COVID outbreaks hampered both production and demand. Looking at sub-indexes, production fell by half a percentage point to 50.9, while new orders came in at 49.3, down from 49.7. The official non-manufacturing PMI, an indicator of business sentiment in the services and construction sectors, fell sharply from 52.7 in December to 51.1. The composite PMI, which includes both manufacturing and service industry activities, fell to 51 from 52.2 in December. The National Bureau of Statistics attributed the lower readings to the upcoming Lunar New Year, a time when factory workers return home for family reunions. It also noted growing pressure for small businesses which don't have the financial clout to withstand uncertainties. Chloe Fong, HKIBC.
Overseas, an emergency has been declared in large parts of the United States as a monster winter storm pounded the East Coast. Millions of residents are under blizzard warnings. A ferocious winter storm has lashed northeastern U.S., dumping record snowfall on regions stretching from Virginia to Maine. Thousands of flights were scrapped and train services halted, as over 100,000 households in Massachusetts alone were left without power. More than 2 feet of snow coated the city of Boston, which is bracing for bitter cold and dangerous wind chills.
The roads are treacherous, if you don't have a truck, forget it.
But some residents braved the blizzard to venture out with their furry friends.
It's pretty nasty out, and I definitely wouldn't want to be driving. My dog Brewer likes to play in the snow, so it's a good opportunity for him to get some snow time in.
The blizzard was unleashed by a winter hurricane deepening off the U.S. East Coast. Also called a bomb cyclone, the weather system is one of the strongest in recent history. Apart from monster winds and snowfall, the storm also triggered flooding in coastal areas.
While the storm may be moving out tonight, that blowing snow and snow-packed roads will make travel extremely hazardous all night tonight. The heavy snowfall rates and the strong wind gusts are going to cause continued whiteout conditions and constantly changing topography in many places.
New Yorkers were urged to stay indoors amid life-threatening conditions.
Roads are slippery out here today, so be careful, bundle up. Good day to stay home if you don't have to go out.
Rhode Island went a step further, with driving on the road banned until the snowstorm passes. The destructive conditions are expected to taper off over the weekend as the storm moves into Canada. That's our main news for this Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Sarah Wong. Thanks for joining us and take care.